Let's upgrade that LinkedIn profile. It's probably well overdue. If you're anything like me, you kind of set it and forget it. So there's lots of upgrading and optimization to come. This is going to set the foundations for getting found more often, standing out in a great way, conveying value, doing a lot of networking, which we'll do in some of the future modules, engagement, and just overall thought leadership. We're trying to fill in as much as possible, so let's get to it. The different areas of our profile facelift fall into all of these different categories. I've outlined a bunch of different resources here, so just real quick, from the standpoint of a lot of the writing, I've included different prompts. So for your headline, there's an entire section for that. The about, which is a huge chunk, there's a big prompt for that. And then individual experience by job, there's a nice little prompt for that. So lots of material there. And then we will eventually go into an activity, which basically requires you to go through section by section and just check off by status all of the different things that we need to optimize and just make sure that we have. It's basic stuff, but we got to do it. So it's always good to get external validation. This is a great little video of somebody explaining what a good headline looks like and what a not so great headline looks like. So pause here, watch this real quick. So some examples of cool headlines. I've done some screen captures here. Now there's some that are more in a storytelling sense, which is kind of neat. There's others that are really metric and industry and type of work based and everything in between. I think these really help you to stand out. This is the first thing that people usually read or see when they're checking out your profile, and that's going to be super useful when you're updating and upgrading your headline. I think it's super difficult for a lot of people to build off of something when they don't have inspiration of what good looks like. So there's a few resources here. I say a few, a really long list of resources that basically just outlines different profiles in terms of what really good looks like from a standpoint of a headline, the about, even banners. Banners are basically the big thing in the background. I'm going to show my LinkedIn. There's an image of me doing public speaking. Honestly, with generative AI, you should be able to create a picture of just about anything that you like. And yeah, the sky's the limit on those. Just leaving it not as a blank is obviously best practices. Always try to list where you are looking for opportunities. This helps in terms of getting found. And I can show you what that looks like on my LinkedIn. So I have an open to work. If you have not set it up yet, it'll be here. And when I edit, you can see the individual job titles. You can see the different places that I would be interested in potentially working and the locations for remote versus on site. Yeah, start date, I always do immediately, even if it's not the case. Yeah, super straightforward stuff. The last thing that I will say on that open to work section is it gives you the option to put the open to work green circle over top of your profile picture. Some people feel it's desperate. I often have my own reservations about it. So for all intents and purposes, leave it off. It's not necessarily a good look. It's not a terrible look either. As we go through this course, you are going to be viewing a lot of different profiles. It really is a personal preference as to whether or not you want to leave the ability of people to see when you have viewed their profile. A lot of people feel icky about being seen, that you're stalking people. I don't know. It's a personal preference. I'll show you real quick how to make sure that that is turned off. This is a premium feature, go figure. So you're going to hit your profile picture, then you're going to hit settings and privacy. And then down here, you do visibility on the left side, and then you have the ability to change your profile viewing options. So I have mine set to private mode. It's a personal preference, honestly. Sometimes you want people to see that you're looking at their profile. Sometimes you don't. Project links to your previous jobs, super important. This is why we spent so much time collecting all the previous projects and building out that portfolio. So as you continue to build your portfolio, slip this stuff in here. You can click add media or add links, and you can see what that looks like down here. The only thing that I will warn you against is, as we talked about before, if you're in a situation where maybe websites go away, maybe stuff just disappears from the internets, you're going to see a less kind of nice version of that, which is like a preview image that doesn't load, which really doesn't do much for you. So again, this is why we do those full screen captures, and we're always trying to put media first and add those links in later. Your skills actually really matter on LinkedIn. This is part of their automated tracking system, their ATS, and it is constantly in a state of evolution. So originally you would be able to see the top skills required for a job and then which skills you possess based off of what you have listed as your skills. That is no longer visible. Every platform is constantly in a state of evolution. Just bear that in mind. But LinkedIn, especially on premium, does give you the ability to list up to 100 skills. So you should be adding those to all of your previous experiences. And if something is not relevant, then obviously don't put it down there. There's two different ways to add skills to your profile. One really easy way is to go through on the individual job level. And let's just grab one of these. I'm going to hit the pencil button or edit button. I will scroll down to skills and I can click add skill and it gives me a few suggestions based off title. It's one way to do it. It's not great. The other way, which I think is probably the best way to do this because you're able to see the skills as they relate to all of the other jobs that you've put in, is towards the bottom. You're going to hit the edit button or the pencil, and then you can see all of the skills that you have put for specific jobs. Now that really helps in terms of being able to stay organized and making sure that you're putting the maximum amount of skills and not overly repeating the same skills over and over and over and over again. You can pull all of the skills directly from job descriptions. If you're at all curious or concerned, that's a whole different conversation, but let's move on. So some LinkedIn profile statistics. This is basically number of multiples of either profile views, the likelihood of being viewed, or the likelihood of receiving opportunities if your profile is complete. Pause here if you want to guess. And here are the answers. So you will have 13 times more profile views for LinkedIn profiles if you're listing your skills. You have a 14x multiple to be potentially viewed if your profile contains a photo. That shouldn't be a shocker. People want to know that there's a human behind this. And you have a 40 times more likelihood to receive opportunities if your LinkedIn profile is complete. That's why we're doing this. And some general LinkedIn profile statistics. Let's go into these real fast. The percent of employers less likely to interview applicants they can't find online, the percent more likely to receive a job interview if they have a complete profile, and the percent of recruiters that use LinkedIn when they're looking to hire. Shocker, big numbers here. 35% of employers are less likely to interview candidates they can't find online. 71% are more likely to receive a job interview if they have a complete profile, and 77% of recruiters use LinkedIn when looking to hire. So there's a lot of documents here, and I've briefly gone over those already, but we have the ability to create a prompt, a headline based off of a prompt, the about section based off of a prompt, and the experience for each individual job based off of a prompt. I've linked all of those here, so it should be really easy to build those out. We'll do that very quickly in an activity, and of course the checklist for all of the individual sections so that you're constantly in a state of optimization. And once it's done, you're good. I mean, of course, there's always room to continue to grow, but we will do this together. So that is coming very quickly. As I have referenced many times, join the Discord if you have specific questions, if you're looking for additional templates, if you want more prompts. All of that is inside of the Discord, and I'm continuously adding new stuff. So yeah, let's rock and roll and keep it going.